Let's start the podcast. Thank you for listening to the Off the Cliff Sports podcast. I'm your host, Cliff Jacks. We're going to let that music play in the background. It's that type of day. Super Bowl 53 passed us by on Sunday, and it literally passed us by because that's how much action was in it. I feel jaded. Do you feel jaded? That's what the Super Bowl did to us. We're going to talk about how bad this Super Bowl was. Unless you're a New England Patriots fan who won their sixth Super Bowl, or a Tom Brady fan who has 6 rings, you may feel pretty good. They did have a parade in Boston this past Tuesday. Let's talk some Super Bowl action. Let's talk some NBA trade action. Stay tuned to Off the Cliff Sports. We'll be back with you in a minute. I want to thank all the listeners out there. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, OfftheCliff-Sports.podbean.com. On Twitter, the handle is @Cliff_Sports. Instagram, OfftheCliff_Sports. You can even email me at OfftheCliff-Sports@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you. The show is going to be a little different. We have a lot to recap. A lot's went on Super Bowl 53, and the trade deadline was Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we have a lot of stuff to dig into. Later in the show, though, we are going to talk about the NFL odds to be Super Bowl champs next year. Who has the best odds? There was also 2 more coaches hired. The final 2 coaches was hired for next season in the NFL. Surprising candidates. We're going to talk a little bit about the NBA All-Star Game, the events, and the NBA All-Star Draft has taken place, and we'll look at the teams a little bit. Get into a little other stuff here and there as well. But of course, we're going to start our show off talking about how jaded Super Bowl 53 was, what the NFL put on the field for us in the greatest spectacle in sports, from the game itself to the halftime performance. Whoa, it was out of this world, literally. Super Bowl 53 started with the Patriots, who's been there, done that 5 previous times they've held the trophy up, against the LA Rams, who last held the trophy up in 1999. They also lost to the Patriots in 2001. We all know by now that the Patriots won the game 13-3. You heard me right. If you were somewhere and you happened to miss the Super Bowl, or you was protesting and not watching the Super Bowl, the Patriots won 13-3. 16 total points, the lowest point total in Super Bowl history. How could this happen with teams that put up 30 points in the previous games? I'm going to tell you how it happened and why we were jaded. There's been so much turmoil around the 2 teams that made it to the Super Bowl because, in essence, neither team should have been in the Super Bowl. The Patriots should have easily lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Rams should have definitely lost to the New Orleans Saints, who the Saints did have a wonderful parade down Bourbon Street Sunday afternoon instead of watching the Super Bowl. I heard it was a lot of people and they had a heck of a time. The Super Bowl did not have the fireworks we wanted. Hands down, it was very boring. The Super Bowl, the only thing that was halfway decent were the commercials. I personally thought there was a few good commercials and kind of had laughter about some of them. Tom Brady, who most people call the GOAT in the NFL, he threw for 262 yards and one interception. He had a QBR of 25. Wow, 25. And he won the Super Bowl. On the other side, he had a third year quarterback, Jared Goff, who was not ready for the big stage. Bill Belichick and I think the defensive coordinator's last name was Flores, who actually got the head coaching job for the Miami Dolphins, put a game plan together that had Jared Goff mesmerized, you could say the least. A deer in headlights. He ended up throwing for 229 yards, but I would say 70 of those yards was in jump time. They were just trying to do whatever to get down the score. He got sacked 4 times, threw one interception. His QBR was 13. That's horrible. 13. And the Rams had no running game. Todd Gurley didn't play but probably a quarter of the plays, which no one really knows why. He said he's healthy, but if you ask most people, including myself, his knee has to still be bothering him. There's no way he wouldn't have played more in that game. But their running game was non-existent. In the first half, they punted 7 times in the first half. I didn't see this coming, a team that scores on average 30 points a game. I just knew they could put up points. I did not pick them to win the game, but I figured they would put up points. Sonny Michel did run for 94 yards and the only touchdown in the game for the Patriots, so he had a decent 5 yards per carry average. The young man, the stage wasn't too big for him. He got out there and did whatever he needed to do. But both defensive coordinators had a great game plan, and it was executed well. Unfortunately, the Patriots did have Tom Brady, so in the fourth quarter, he made 3 big throws that pretty much put them in position to win the game. That's all the GOAT did, was those 3 big throws was the difference in this game, the difference in winning and losing. For your normal casual viewer, they probably would have turned the TV to a different channel. Now, if you were a hardcore football fan, of course you watched the game. That's what we do as hardcore football fans. But the hitting wasn't that good. No offense, so the game was just like it was just on. In all honesty, I'm gonna have a caller a little later, and he's gonna voice his rant on what he thought about the game. Bill Belichick did outcoach Sean McVay, so the veteran outcoached the student. It could be expected, but I really thought McVay was going to have a better offensive game plan. I thought he was going to have more gadget or trick plays under his sleeves, but his offense was vanilla, and it got creamed. Something just wasn't clicking in this Super Bowl for the Rams. On the Patriots side, they won, so they really don't have to talk about what they did wrong because at the end of the day, they're getting rings. 6 for the New England Patriots. Whoever would have thought that they would get to this Super Bowl this year? I had no idea that they could get back, but they pretty much proved us all wrong. A friend of mine told me never bet against number 12. I guess he was right because number 12 has 6 rings. To tell you how messed up this Super Bowl was, in a defensive struggle like we had, the MVP of the Super Bowl was a wide receiver. And the only reason Julian Edelman was the MVP is he had 10 receptions, 141 yards. Pretty much that's the only person Tom Brady threw the ball to. Gronk had 6 catches for 80-some yards. But Edelman crossing routes was open all day. Although I believe the Rams was willing to give that up because of the fact that he was getting yards between the 30s. Outside of that, they were able to shut him down. The Patriots only got to the red zone maybe 3 times. The Super Bowl MVP should have been Stephon Gilmore, the defensive back for the Patriots. 5 solo tackles, 3 pass breakups, and the interception that pretty much sealed the deal. He most likely was the best player on the field Super Bowl Sunday. And the NFL even messed that up by not giving him the MVP in a 13-3 game. But, hey, what else do we expect from the NFL? We see from the playoffs to now what the NFL is really made of. Trying their best to get TV ratings. The wonderful halftime show was headlined by Maroon 5. That's the first controversy. You're in Atlanta, Georgia, and Maroon 5 is your headlining act. So, that alone caused a major uproar. And the people they had with them, they had Travis Scott. Travis Scott right now is a hot rapper. Can't deny that. His last CD was very good. And then you had Big Boy out of Atlanta. That one didn't make any sense at all. And he really only was on the field maybe 3 to 5 minutes after the halftime show, if that much. Kind of strange. But the NFL said, hey, this is what we're going to ride with. Adam Levine tried his best to put on a great performance. But in all honesty, with the old songs he was playing, it was like, let's go get snacks and refill our drinks until the second half starts. That's the way I felt about the halftime show. I tell you, we've had better days when it comes to Super Bowls. We have definitely had better days. A key note or a key stat, the ratings for this Super Bowl were the worst in 10 years. 10 years ago, you had a game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Arizona Cardinals who had worse ratings. And that year, everybody knew Pittsburgh was going to win the Super Bowl. Most people didn't think it was going to be close. And Pittsburgh did win that Super Bowl. So normally a Pittsburgh Steelers game, who their fans travel really well, wouldn't have bad ratings. But back at that point in time, everyone knew what was going to happen during that Super Bowl. The NFL definitely is going to have to fix a lot of things. A lot of things got to be fixed. The referees didn't even play a part in this game because it was so sorry. Teams going 3-and-out punt. Other team go 3-and-out punt. So the refs really didn't have a chance to put an impact on this game that would have made a difference at that point. I guess that's the best thing about it. No referee involvement. The best part of the Super Bowl, I would say, was Gladys Knight, who sung the national anthem. She did a heck of a job. She represented Atlanta well on that national anthem. What more can you say? Super Bowl 53 is over and done with. We're going to come back and let you hear a little rant, and then we'll move on to a little bit of NBA trades. And there were a lot of them. And there was one trade that never happened that everybody was looking for. All right, listeners, we're going to get into that NBA trade talk later on here. I have on the line with us the chef. He picked the Rams to win last week 27-24, if I'm not mistaken. And we all know that didn't happen because we all was jaded based on this Super Bowl. I'm going to give the chef a little time to rant about Super Bowl 53 and the things he liked, if any, and the things he didn't like. Chef, how you doing today?
I'm good, Cliff, man. How you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm making it. I'm making it. I'm just so disappointed at the NFL season we just had, but hey, what can we say?
Oh, it's so much to say. I mean, if you look at the game and how it played out, I think what it basically came down to was the super coach being outcoached. I think a lot of people give McVay a lot more attention than he deserves. I mean, great offensive mind, but one of the things is in this day and age, I think a lot of coaches uh, they don't know how to adapt. I think they stick to a game plan, and when that game plan doesn't work, they don't know how to go into the locker room and adjust.
I
And that
totally
showed,
agree.
that totally showed with McVay. I mean, Belichick didn't do anything different than any other coach would do. He took away one of his stars, and when he took away one of his stars and Cooks, it totally really upset them and made them look like a high school team. I mean, they could not adjust to the blitz. The quarterback showed his youth and not being able to audible out of plays. And what it really did show was that Jared Goff is not really ready to be a star. He's not ready to be a star because he doesn't know how to adjust to an ongoing defense. I mean, it was a simple, cover man with two safeties high and five people coming at him, and he didn't know how to adjust his line. So it showed through the scoring with 3 points, but I'm disappointed that a great coaching by Wade Phillips was just left out there on the field.
Do you think they took enough chances down the field? I know they were playing a cover too high, but you still got to take some shots.
I think the things that hurt them a lot was their running game. I mean, they really wanted to prove a point to say that Gurley was not hurt when everyone watching that game knew that he was not himself. He wasn't himself to previous games. Everyone they want to use the fact that he rushed for 100 yards against Cowboys. Well, he wasn't hurt then. So something happened in between those 2 weeks. And instead of using C.J. Anderson as they previously had do, they wanted to prove a point, and that point was a loss to the Patriots.
You're right about that. Tom Brady did get his sixth Super Bowl ring. Do you now consider Tom Brady to be the greatest of all time in the NFL?
I do not. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I think he has 6 rings. But if you look back over the years, it's been other people that's made those rings possible. I mean, the first couple of rings that he got was due to the defense. But I think Belichick is the greatest coach that I've saw in my present 40 years. I think that he adjusts to anything. They lost to the Patriots last year they lost to the Eagles last year because they just lost to a better team. Uh, but for as Brady being the best, no, sir. I still consider Montana to be the best because he took more talent and won the championships that he did. So to me, Montana is still the greatest quarterback.
I'm gonna have to go with John Elway myself. Maybe that's a little biased, but John Elway is the best quarterback of all time, even with his four Super Bowl losses.
Well, we both know that that's your favorite guy. So we'll let you say that, and we can all have our own opinion. But as long as we don't agree Brady's the number one, we're good.
Hey, I'm gonna have to put him up there as either 1A or 1B or somewhere. He got the six rings to prove it.
We still have to give him the respect as an NFL quarterback that does it. I mean, he is a great leader. To me, he's a silent leader. You really don't hear too much from him. The one thing that I respect Brady about was it wasn't about the money with him. It was about making sure that he had a better team. And I think the guys that's coming up behind him, if they take a look at how he laid the blueprint out, it took less money so the team could be better. I think that we would have better teams throughout the NFL. So I give him that. But I also want to say that Belichick is one of the coaches that can take smaller school guys that play different positions. Edelman is a great example. Was a Midwest dual threat quarterback that he turned into one great receiver, and still I'm wondering why he was not doubled in that game. But that's another topic for another day.
Yeah, we probably never see Edelman in the Super Bowl again, most likely. That might have been his last hurrah, because I don't think the Patriots are making it back. But You never know since they play in the AFC East. You never know.
That would be correct. I mean, it's one of the weakest conferences in the NFL. So they have ran Rumshack over that conference for several years, and I don't see anybody making it any better. But the one thing that I think that hurts them is those guys are getting older, and I don't know if Brady will come back. He says he's going to come back, but what does he have to prove to anybody? I mean, he has all the money, he has the rings, notoriety. There's nothing else for him to prove. So once they lose him, I don't see anybody on the back shelf because of Belichick's ego. He traded away the backup quarterback that could have been the quarterback of the future to the San Francisco 49ers. So if Brady does leave, I think we'll be back to the old 80s Patriots with nothing to win, and especially down the Super Bowls.
Wow. We definitely appreciate you giving us that knowledge. Being that you are a chef, I want you to give the listeners a quick meal, or not necessarily a quick meal, a nice meal that they can prepare for Valentine's Day instead of going out spending all those hundreds of dollars on meals that really cost $10 or $20. What could they do at home to wow their significant other?
Well, it all depends on what their significant other likes. I mean, if it's something that they, for seafood, for instance, I think something that can be reasonably priced. A lot of people don't try to do is seafood in their home, and it's something that can be affordable. And really, it doesn't take a lot of time nor a lot of effort to prepare. Something as simple as making shrimp skewers or making crab legs or things like that. A lot of people don't do it because they don't trust themselves, but it's tons of avenues for those people to get those recipes, not only from chefs like myself. We have so much knowledge out there with YouTube and things like that. Just trust yourself. Even as chefs, we make mistakes, and we're not perfect. So, if you can go out and look at that and use those avenues to better yourself, do it because it's just something simple you can do. Or, if you're going to do it for your husband, a nice steak on the grill is something that you can always do. You find a nice ribeye, you season it up simply with salt and pepper, and then you pan sear it with a little bit of garlic and thyme in there with, and finish it off with butter. Cook it to their preference, whether it's medium rare or well done, and there you go.
All right, that was perfect. And I love how he added in there, ladies, do it for your man. We don't always got to be the ones that provide the dinner for Valentine's Day, do we? Appreciate that, Chef. We definitely enjoy your calls, and we will definitely be reaching out to you if you don't reach out to us for other shows, more topics later on in the season here on Off the Cliff Sports. You enjoy the rest of your evening, sir.
Thank you, Cliff, and you do the same.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope y'all take those tidbits from the shelf. Remember, Valentine's Day is Thursday the 14th. So even if you're celebrating on that Friday night, make sure on the 14th you provide something for your significant other, something small to get them through the 14th into that next night if you don't celebrate on the 14th. We're going to jump into some NBA talk. I've been dogging the NFL a lot lately. I think most of it has been deserved. But what about the NBA? I'm really getting to a point where the NBA, to me, is getting just as bad as the NFL. But it's not the officiating and the on the field stuff that I'm talking about because I honestly love the high scoring games. That's right up my alley. The problem with the NBA I'm having right now is the $1 million players and the $1 billion owners. They're really making the NBA full of crap, if you ask me. You either got players crying about they don't want to play here, they want to go somewhere else, or you got the owners saying, hey, you signed your contract, so you need to play your contract out. You're putting me in a bad situation. So guess who ends up getting the bad end of the stick? It's us, the fans. With all their back and forth, this person doesn't want to play here, this person doesn't want to play here, this owner doesn't want to spend the money, and they start tanking so they can get a high draft pick because we all know it's happening. It's really souring the NBA game. The players in the league aren't tough like the old players are because there's fouls called for everything. The type of play is so different now. So we need to get the NBA fixed, hopefully before we get the NFL fixed. For God's sakes, we even had a player get traded in the middle of a game the other night. Poor Harrison Barnes got traded in the middle of the game. Whether he knew about the talks on and off or not, the fact that they traded him at that point sucked and was a very poor business decision, if you ask me. It definitely should have been handled differently. But, I mean, Harrison Barnes will make $25 million next year. Whether he likes being in Sacramento or not, that remains to be seen. But I know he will be okay with $25 million coming next season. We had a lot of trades over the last few days. A lot of trades. The team that traded Harrison Barnes, my Dallas Mavericks, also made the first big trade here when they traded Dennis Smith Jr., DeAndre Jordan, Wesley Matthews, and a couple picks for Kristaps Porzingis, Tim Hardaway Jr. of the New York Knicks. Big trade for both teams. One, it kind of was a salary dump for the Knicks because Wesley Matthews and DeAndre Jordan will be coming off the books. Dennis Smith Jr. is still under a rookie contract, and he's pretty solid, and a fresh start in New York might be what he needs. For the Mavericks, they're trying to get Porzingis, a.k.a. the Unicorn, to match him with Luka Doncic, the great superstar rookie that the Mavericks have, to try to get back to the old Steve Nash, Dirk Nowitzki days. I think it will be a nice matchup here in Dallas with those two guys together. They just need to get one more strong all-star level player with those two guys, and the Mavericks might have some moving forward. A couple of the other trades that happened this past week. Marc Gasol from the Memphis Grizzlies was traded to the Raptors. The Raptors are actually going to try to get that championship this year. And Marc Gasol definitely can give them a good 20, 28 minutes a game. He has good skills as far as passing, soft touch, and can score the ball from the post. So I think that was a real good trade for Toronto since they know they're going after it. And they won't have to see LeBron unless it's in the championship. Toronto will not have to see LeBron this year. The Pelicans traded Nikola Mirotic, who they just picked up last year and thought was going to be a key clog in their team going forward. But now that Anthony Davis wants out, they said it's time for them to dismantle the band. So they traded him to the Milwaukee Bucks, who is going to make Giannis happy. The Greek Freak has a teammate that can shoot, can score the ball some. So I think the Bucks now take a step up as well, and they're going to be very competitive in the East. Toronto, the Bucks, also the Boston Celtics, who's loaded, and the Philadelphia 76ers, who actually picked up a player in the trades as well. So the Sixers picked up Tobias Harris from the Clippers, and that gives them a starting lineup of Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, and whomever else they throw out there in that lineup. It's going to be a pretty nice lineup for them. Tobias can shoot the ball some, and Philly does need some outside shooting if they're going to compete in the in the Eastern Conference. The Lakers, they've been trying and trying to get Anthony Davis, and unfortunately those trades fell through. I believe they fell through because it got so public. Everybody knew what was going down, And I don't think it was a way for them to honestly make that trade happen and everyone look at it as if it was a fair trade or a trade that didn't violate some type of rules because it was so out in the open. I think New Orleans, or I think Anthony Davis and his agent could have went about it a different way to make it happen. But once they went public with it, I think it blew up on the Lakers. So the Lakers are without Anthony Davis for the rest of this year, which probably means no playoffs, or if they do get in the playoffs, we're probably looking at an 8th or 7th seed. So we'll see how that plays out for LeBron and his Lakers. They did pick up Reggie Bullock from the Detroit Pistons. I don't know what type of help that's going to give them, but they picked him up. They also shipped off, which was a shocker, Zubac, their little young center that's been playing very well for them, but they shipped him off. That was a surprising move as well in this trade deadline. Chicago Bulls got Alt Porter, who was a good outside shooter. He's under a pretty solid contract. I think he's scheduled to make about 20 mil next year, but I think he might fit what Chicago wants to do moving forward. They did, however, have to give up Bobby Portis for him, and Bobby Portis was that energy guy, that glue guy on that team. They got rid of Jabari Parker, who was, for Chicago, a cancer. I think he's a good player myself, but he didn't fit into that organization because he wasn't getting playing time, and he didn't want to be there. So there was a couple other trades in the NBA as well, a few other trades here and there, but those were the big ones that we went over. So tell me what you think about those trades. Of course, you can hit me at offthecliff-sports.podbean.com or you could tweet me at hashtag Cliff_sports. I'm sorry, not hashtag, at Cliff_sports. Let me know what you think about the NBA trades and just the health of the NBA. You had LeBron James speak out about the Harrison Barnes trade, on about what type of bad business was going on. And you have the owners talking about the players, about they leave and they don't want to honor their contract, but then you have the owners going back trading people in the middle of basketball games like it's just, hey, that person's traded. It is what it is. These players do have families. We got to definitely come to some type of common ground. I'm thinking we might have to have a situation where the trading deadline is maybe like All-Star week or something. A week where no one's playing, or a week where everything is put on hold. Because when you trade like this, I mean, it is a business. We all know it's a business. The players are making millions. So maybe me as just an everyday Cliff or everyday Joe for some of you out there, maybe I don't understand that part of the business and they just got to deal with it. Plus, with all the money that's being thrown around in the NBA, I guess getting traded in the middle of a game is not the worst thing that can happen to you. At the end of the day, your family is still well taken care of and you still have a job. So maybe the owners have a point there. I think at their next collective bargaining agreement, though, the players really got to stand up and decide, hey, this is what we want. This is how we want to do it. And the owners got to figure out, maybe we should do more trade clauses or something of that nature. No trade clauses. Something to get this where it doesn't look like one side is stabbing the other side in the back. Because that's what we're seeing right now. Since we're talking about the NBA, we might as well talk about the All-Star game that's coming up. We had the NBA All-Star draft here recently. LeBron James was the captain of one team, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, aka the Greek Freak, was the captain of the other team. LeBron did have the first pick in the draft, and he picked KD as his number one player. Giannis, in turn, picked Stephen Curry, the Charlotte native who was hosting the All-Star game. LeBron then turned and went back to his old teammate Kyrie. Giannis went big with Joel Embiid. LeBron went to Kawhi Leonard. Then, strangely enough, Giannis went with Paul George over James Harden. LeBron went with Harden, and Giannis went with Kemba. So those were the starters. When it comes to the bench players, the draft order reverses, and Giannis starts out with the first pick for the bench players. And he did a solid and chose his teammate Middleton over AD, Klay Thompson, Russell Westbrook. He chose his teammate, which, hey, it's the All-Star game. It's for fun. Somebody you play with every day. Reward him by picking him first reserve. LeBron James actually picked Russell Westbrook with one of his bench player picks, but after the draft, Giannis and LeBron made a trade. So Russell Westbrook ended up going over to Giannis's team, and LeBron in return gets Ben Simmons. I know Giannis said he's going to try to work out the beef between Russell Westbrook and Joel Embiid, so we might have some fireworks for this All-Star game. Everybody might want to stay tuned for this. If you ask me, LeBron's team is stacked. I failed to mention the fact that Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki was given exemptions by the commissioner for this year's All-Star. Dwayne said this was his last run. Everybody thinks this probably will be Dirk's last run as well, so those two gentlemen were added to the All-Star rosters. And you know LeBron got his buddy, D Wade, and Giannis went ahead and took Dirk. So those are your NBA All-Star Game rosters. Whether the game will be fun or not, who knows? These All-Star games and things, the players, they don't want to hurt themselves. So they're not going to go 100%, but maybe in the second half they'll start D'ing up and we'll get to see like some street ball or some rec ball, because I've seen in the summertime where they go at each other and it's exciting. Sometimes it's better than those NBA games that we see. Now the All-Star game is coming up, and of course we have the skills challenge, and you have the slam dunk contest. Of course, the slam dunk contest hasn't been that exciting the past few years. The players that we know, or what we call superstars, those players are not actually getting in the dunk contest like back in the day. And I think sometimes that's taken a lot of the luster out of the dunk contest. This year, you have Dennis Smith Jr., he's part of the dunk contest. And you have a couple other guys who play, but I can't necessarily tell you, hey, this guy's a star, or this guy's a star. So it'll be kind of hard to tell you that. The skills challenge, you're going to have Luka Doncic from Dallas, who, in my opinion, possibly could have been an all-star starter. I think the fans would have loved to see him out there. So he's going to be in the challenge. You're going to have, I think Damian Lillard's in the challenge also. I know Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, Dirk Nowitzki, Danny Green, Steph's brother, Seth Curry are all part of the three-point shootout. So it's going to be probably the best event I'm thinking will be that three-point shootout. So you got some real good shooters that are going to be in that game. So I think that's the one part of the All-Star game I'm going to look. Of course, I'll watch the dunk contest, but I'm not going to put too much weight into it, because nowadays you have the young guys. Some of them are exciting. Back when Levine for the Bulls, one of his years, he made it look real good, and he was doing some dunks that was like, wow. But unless someone comes up with some new things, It's probably not going to do a lot for us. But that's the NBA and the All-Star. I think the players enjoy that whole week break they get now. I think that's the biggest part. But just like the Super Bowl, it's a weekend of partying, time off, a lot of celebrities around. So Charlotte will be the place this year to enjoy the revenue part of that. Other than that, we have kind of a quiet on all the other fronts. Everybody really is getting over the Super Bowl, getting geared up for the upcoming All-Star game. We have the odds for the NFL next year on who's picked to go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. And it may surprise some of you all, but most of you all, it's probably not going to surprise you. Super Bowl 54, which is scheduled to be held at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, Florida. Looks like we have the Kansas City Chiefs with the best odds on winning the Super Bowl. Then you have three teams that falls in line next. The Rams, the Saints, and good old Tom Brady and the Patriots. Caveat, if Tom Brady is playing. If Tom Brady's not playing, we probably can take the Patriots and put them in the cellar. After that, you got some odds for the Clippers, the Bears, and the Steelers. I know I got a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans. The Dallas Cowboys are down there to 16-1 odds for the Super Bowl. I don't know if they're going to be as good as they were next year. I'm not really pleased with their offensive coordinator that they hired, but as long as Jerry Jones there, the Cowboys are going to be a team that's very unpredictable. So there's your odds for the Super Bowl 54. We only got to wait another 360 days or so, and we can have another Super Bowl talk. Hopefully the ratings go up. Hopefully we get a better product on the field. You never know. You never know with the NFL. You're listening to Off the Cliff Sports with Cliff Jacks. Our quick take segment today. First up on a somber note, Frank Robinson died at the age of 83. Frank Robinson was the first African American manager in the major leagues back in 1975. He actually was a player manager at the time, which was pretty awesome if you ask me. Playing and managing at the same time, that's how good you were. Frank Robinson also won the Triple Crown in baseball, the MVP, and he won a World Series in the same season. Think about how hard that is to do. Led the league in home runs, batting average, RBIs in the same season, which most likely you are going to win the MVP, but along with it, he won the World Series as well. So, RIP to Frank Robinson, a pioneer in the African American communities. Second quick take for you today. Talk a little bit about team worth. I can tell you, overall sports teams, franchises, the Dallas Cowboys actually are worth about $5 billion right now. And that leads any NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, Premier League soccer team. The Cowboys lead the field in that. But an article did just come out about the NBA. The New York Knicks are worth $4 billion. The Los Angeles Lakers come in a second in the NBA at $3.7 billion. And the Golden State Warriors. Back in the 90s, the Golden State Warriors was purchased for, I want to say it was $400 million. And now that franchise is worth $3.5 billion. Look how that money changes. With the right people on your staff, your money can change in a good way. So just a quick little financial knowledge for you. Third and last quick take I wanted to get to today is Zion Williams, a young kid who is attending Duke University, freshman, basketball phenomenon. He's lighting up college ball. He's making unbelievable dunks. Things he did in high school, you're like, that's high school ball. This kid is doing it in college too. He has the smile and the personality to be one of the faces of the NBA. There are a couple ex-players who say they don't think he'll be an MVP caliber player. Everybody has to judge for themselves. I think his personality, his grit. The other day I saw him jumping on the floor for a loose ball. When you know you're going to be making millions, some people will be like, that's not a good business decision. But Zion is just a kid out there having fun like kids should do. The bad part about it, he has some teams losing to try to have the opportunity of getting him on their team. And some of those teams that are losing are not the best team you probably would want to go to. Cleveland Cavaliers. Some of those teams' owners are not the owners you want to play for. They don't have a direction that they're trying to get their franchise. They just want to get the number one player because they know most likely that number one player is box office. Box office means ticket sales. Ticket sales mean more money for their pockets. I hope Zion ends up personally with the Bulls, who's having a terrible year this year as well. So I hope somehow them Chicago Bulls get Zion Williams, and that way I can cheer for him. If he goes to Cleveland, I hope he does the best he can, but unfortunately I wouldn't be cheering for the Cleveland Cavaliers. If somehow he makes it to the Atlanta Hawks, I can cheer for the Hawks. I love Atlanta. But this young kid is out there playing basketball how it should be played. He's out there having fun. And as he said in one of his interviews the other day, I just want to win. I'm going to do whatever it takes for my team to win. If I got to jump on the floor, I'm going to jump on the floor. I'm going to get rebounds. I'm going to score. Whatever he needs to do, that young kid is doing, and I hope him the best as his future goes, which is already bright. But I just hope he can handle the spotlight. Don't let it overwhelm him. We're coming to the end of episode 5. I really want to thank you all for listening. Please pass the podcast over to some of your friends, your coworkers, your neighbors. Tell them to give it a shot. Tell them it may be something they want to listen to. Sports from an everyday Joe, or in my case, an everyday Cliff. Something for all of us, a point of view from us and not from the pros or the professionals. I'm going to leave you, of course, today with a quote, as always. Today's quote is going to come from George Steinbrenner, past owner of the Yankees who passed away. And the quote is, "Winning is the most important thing in my life after breathing. Breathing first, winning next." That's from George Steinbrenner. It's been great talking to you guys about sports and what I love. Please comment. OfftheCliff-Sports.podbean.com. Gmail account is OfftheCliff-Sports@gmail.com. The Twitter handle is @Cliff_Sports. And the Instagram handle is OfftheCliff_Sports. Give me your comments. It's been great. I'm your host, Cliff Jacks. This is Off the Cliff Sports, and we're signing off. Peace.